Hello everybody, here we are today and we're going to be talking about Marc-André Fleury, and in case you didn't know, he passed Patrick Wall for second all-time in wins. So before we start with it, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to me or hockey, whatever the case may be. That being said, let's get on into it. So we're going to be talking very briefly about the win for Minnesota, which ended up allowing Flower to win the 552nd game of his career, but we're also going to be talking about the legacy impact as well for him. So you have the game last night where the Wild are on a 6-game skid. They really probably should have beat the Flyers the other night, and that would have given Flower that win, but they ended up blowing a 3-1 lead, losing 4-3 against Philly in overtime. I actually had pre-recorded that video talking about what it meant to me and all that stuff, but you don't get to post that video because they don't win that game. So you have that there, and the team's got to be feeling like they're in a rut. They don't have a lot of things going right. They're not in the playoff spot right now, but they have something to motivate them for this game against the Islanders, that being that Marc-André Fleury is trying to get that win and moving to second all-time past Wall. They end up having a pretty good performance. They end up out shooting the Islanders 40-21. They have 36 scoring chances compared to 18 for New York, and I believe they had 15 high danger chances compared to the Islanders' 9. So that was pretty good. They were on the man advantage 5 times in the game. Could they have impacted stuff? Yes, because they did score twice on the man advantage. However, it was just one of those deals where you felt like this side was super motivated to get him that win after kind of squandering the opportunity in the game against the Flyers. Now, as for all this stuff about Flower, I just think it's one of those deals where you truly don't get to understand it unless you get to experience it. And I know a lot of kids that are a little bit younger probably look at him and just see this guy that has had some struggles in recent years on these teams, but they don't remember the experience you get to watch him with in Pittsburgh. So he was drafted first overall to the Penguins in 2003. And back then, that was not necessarily a good thing. There was a lot of instability as the franchise just was in a bad state. So he and the rest of the group they end up getting with some of their picks end up just turning this thing around and building one of the most successful franchises in the modern era. So they end up in his time with the Penguins going to the Stanley Cup Final 4 times, 2008, 2009, 2016, and 2017. They win 3 of them. Now, I know some people will say, again, how big was his role in the last 2? I would say relatively big in the 2017 run. Now, you could say 2016, where Murray was hot, and then they ended up riding with him. That makes sense. And I think Flower might have been injured for a part of it. Either way, Murray looked like he was their guy. But still, looking at what the Penguins were able to accomplish in that time, if you would have told a Pens fan in the early to mid-2000s, hey, you're going to go on to have a period where, in like a decade, you're going to have 4 championship appearances and you're going to win 3 Stanley Cups and life is going to be great, they probably would have said, no way. But here we are, and seeing the legacy that he built with this team is just impressive because there was a lot of winning along the way. This is a guy that over the course of his career had 9 31 seasons, 2 41 seasons, and was part of this Pittsburgh era that was, they're going to go to the playoffs. They're probably going to have a chance, and they might just go out there and win the whole thing. There was some disappointment along the way. I do think Fleury had some years maybe he wasn't performing the way he would have hoped, or the playoffs were a little bit of a disappointment, but there was a lot of good. And Pittsburgh fans will always remember that smile, that positivity, that energy. Make no mistake, this is going to be one of those guys that they'll always remember. He's going to have a statue, and he is just in a spot where, for one franchise, he's already going to be an icon. But the thing is, he's already an icon for a second franchise, it being Vegas, because again, we talked about how the Penguins thought Murray was going to be their guy of the future, and Fleury being a little bit older and not necessarily playing the best at the time from what I remember. They end up seeing him go in the expansion draft, and Vegas ends up getting him. Now, this was a very critical period for the Golden Knights. I actually told a buddy of mine that when this expansion draft happened and everything went down for Vegas, I said, this is a team that probably could make the playoffs. I didn't really think that they would do a whole lot, but I said I really liked what some of the pieces they got in Vegas or for Vegas, and this could be a team that makes playoffs. They end up going and winning the conference championship, the Western Conference Championship, in year 1. Fleury is a part of that, and just really setting a lot of records along the way and making people realize how good this team could be. I would argue, despite the fact that Fleury doesn't ever win a Stanley Cup with Vegas, he plays such a pivotal role on how this team does and how they end up making some decisions. Because let's say that they're not that good in year 1 and they don't go to the Stanley Cup final and maybe they have a first-round exit or something like that. Are they as aggressive in trades in the following seasons that end up allowing them to get some of the guys that they get that allow them to win that Stanley Cup? I would argue probably not. Now, was every season great with Vegas? Probably not, but there were still a lot of good ones there. He ended up winning a Vezina, something he had never done before. And this is just a situation where, again, you have somebody that is already so crucial to one franchise and so pivotal to what they're able to achieve. Then you have him be a key guy for the second franchise in Vegas, and you really see this expansion really be just a good positive thing that ends up allowing a lot more fans maybe in that area, or just more fans around the nation, or just a world to be able to say, oh, I want that Vegas Golden Knights gear. And while a lot of us aren't fans of Vegas, you do seem to see Golden Knights stuff hanging around in areas where it probably shouldn't be, or you wouldn't expect it to be. So yeah, there's that. Now, in recent years, especially with Chicago and Minnesota, things haven't gone super well, but I don't care, because again, we've already seen him have so many winning seasons with Pittsburgh and Vegas, and been able to achieve so much. Will he end up catching Marc-André Brodeur? He's like 139 wins away from him. No, we're not going to see that, as Fleury's future is in question a little bit. So you do have to wonder if he's even going to play after this year. It would be a shame if they don't make the playoffs, Minnesota that is, and he doesn't get to play playoff hockey again. I'm kind of hoping maybe they would trade him if they weren't going to, and even if he was going to be a backup for a team that was looking to make the playoffs, just seeing that be the case. But still a situation where there's a lot of positivity, and a guy that has played just a big role in the league for a while now. And then finally, I do think I just want to talk about the fact that it feels like not the end of an era, but just a very special ceremony, if you will, because as a kid growing up, this is one of the last big goalies from when I was a kid. So you had Lund, you had Carey Price, you had Pecorine, you had some other guys as well that probably could be thrown in there from when I was younger. But Fleury is one of those guys that is just ingrained in your memory of those guys you watched growing up playing hockey or watching hockey. And the fact that his days are numbered in the league because he'll probably retire really goes to show the fact that time flies. I mean, again, you go from being like a 10-year-old kid, 14-year-old kid, whatever the case is, watching these games and seeing him, and then the next thing you know, he's at the point of retirement. I guess I'm just at the point right now where I don't say it's emotional necessarily, but it's just a little bit crazy to realize how much time has passed. To where you watch some of these games and you watch some of these players and you realize some of these guys that you idolized as kids are almost done. I mean, like some of these guys you already did idolize are done and their career is over, and maybe they're thriving in another way. But it's one of those situations where I would say don't take a player for granted and try to watch as many games as you can. Try to maybe even meet the players if you can while they're still playing, because you just don't realize how fast it goes by. And Fleury is a guy that would be a great player to meet. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll be able to meet him by the time he retires, but I do hope that I am able to meet him at some point in my life, just because of the positivity that he kind of puts out and the leadership that he's been able to show. So will he end up moving in a number one all-time? No, but he's going to be second all-time for sure, and may end up staying there. And if that's the case, it's great, because second all-time in wins, 3 Stanley Cup championships, a Vezina, and is going to be a Hall of Fame candidate for sure. But anyway, yes, just kind of a rant about all this. I was going to put a video out last night, but I said, you know, I usually put out news when it's breaking. Maybe I'm not perfect all the time, but this is something where not only is it a big deal in terms of the league, but it's a big deal in terms of my childhood. And I kind of just want to get to watch it and enjoy it. So, of course, my dog ended up having to go to the bathroom right as it happened. So I just was out there on ESPN on my phone watching it in negative temperatures. So there was that. That's not really how I planned to do it, but still, it's a very impactful moment for me as a hockey fan. And I'm hoping that everybody kind of gets to experience that as they get older too. So anyway, what is a big moment for you as a fan of the game, where maybe a childhood idol of yours ended up, you know, achieving something really big? Or just you realize, hey, all this time has flown by. Anyway, please let me know that down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe. Have a great night. You go love hockey all right. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.